So I was at this supermarket today, a place called Acme. I was looking for a snack. I wanted a sweet snack. Now, I've had Oreos a lot of times in my life, especially the double stuff Oreo. The reason they call it that is because it has twice as much white filling or stuffing as normal Oreo. So these cookies were on sale for $1.99. That was great. They're usually like $2.99, even when they're on sale, or like $3.29 or something. So I said, all right, that's for me. $1.99. So I get out to my car and I open up this package. It's like this. You can see I ate a bunch of them. And I started eating these delicious Oreos, and then I realized these things are awful. They're not delicious Oreos at all. They're disgusting. The cookies are like, everybody knows that an Oreo cookie is just kind of painful to eat because it's rock hard and everything, and it's chocolate, but it has a distinct taste, and it's a quality cookie. And then inside, everybody knows that legendary Oreo cookie filling. Everybody knows how this tastes. If you don't know how this tastes, then where the hell have you been all these years? So I bite into one of these rotten cookies. The cookie tastes vaguely chocolatey, but it also tastes like chalk. I might as well have taken just like a piece of chalk off of a chalkboard tray and soaked it in Nestle's Quick and then chomped into it. That's how this tastes. The filling inside, it's really sweet, but it's excessively sweet. And I know these have always been really sweet, but this is like way too sweet. Almost offensively sweet. As if they were trying to recapture the original sweetness of the Oreo cookie filling, and they just went way overboard. It's almost like a sickly sweetness, kind of like a chemically sweetness. It's just not good at all. So I'm looking at this package and I'm asking myself, what happened? What is wrong here? And then I remembered a while back, Nabisco got bought out by this company, and it's right here on the back, called Mondelez or Mondelez. I don't know exactly how to pronounce this. I'm not Spanish. And now these cookies are made in Mexico. Mondelez Global, East Hanover, New Jersey. They're made in Mexico. So, okay. I have no problem with Mexico. I've been there. It's fun. You go down there, you can, buy gum on the side of the street. I have no problem with Mexicans. I like my Mexican friends. They're fun. They're nice. They're friendly. They smile. But these cookies, for some reason, that are made by Mondelez in Mexico, are terrible. Now, I can't imagine that Mexican people don't know how to make cookies. Everybody knows how to make some cookies. But I think what happened is, when Mondelez bought Nestle, Nestle, that's a whole different story. When they bought Nabisco and moved production of these cookies to Mexico, something was lost in the translation. Wow, that's not even supposed to be a pun. They lost something somewhere. So you had these cookies being made in America by good old American folks. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe they were being made by Mexican people here in America. Who cares? But they were made in America, and they were delicious. And we're not talking 10 years ago. The last time I had American Oreos, I'm probably thinking like a year ago. And they're just delicious. You open up, and here's what you do. You take two of them, you twist it off, and the filling inside is it breaks. It's not smushy. Like, these are really smushy. I know it's kind of hot today, but this filling is really smushy. But normally the filling's like a little more solid rather than liquid. And you take two, you put it together. But you look at this. First of all, the filling's just all smushy. second, the filling was like almost kind of yellowish looking. Maybe that's just the lights. And you bite into this, and it just doesn't taste right. It doesn't taste right at all. So last time I had normal Oreos, American Oreos, probably a year ago, and they were fantastic. But these... Now normally when you have a craving for an Oreo or a cookie like this, you can go to the supermarket and you can buy real Oreos for like $3, $3.50, or you can buy the store brand sandwich cream, duplex cream cookies, and you're taking a chance. Maybe you'll get lucky and you'll get like a cookie that's kind of like an Oreo and it tastes okay. Or maybe you'll get unlucky and you'll get a horrible store brand cookie. But you always had the option in the past of spending the extra money. Instead of buying the store brand, instead of buying the generic cookies, you always had the option of buying the real Oreo and getting a high quality, delicious cookie that you know you're going to love. But now you don't even have that option. And at this store, Acme, I did make a mistake a couple months ago buying their store brand or the sort of off-brand fake Oreos, and they were, oh my god, they were just awful. They were just unbearable. I don't know how I managed to eat the whole package. They were just terrible. They weren't quite as bad. They were 100 times worse than these. But the idea is, that day, I just didn't feel like spending any money. I was cheap, so I took a chance, and I bought this cheap pack of store-brand cookies, and I lost. Big deal. But today I said, you know, I'm going to splurge a whole $1.99, and I'm going to get the real Nabisco Oreos. You know, not Acme brand duplex creams, not, you know, some off-brand Cookie Co. garbage. Actual Nabisco double stuff Oreos, where I know how they're supposed to taste. I know how they're supposed to feel when I'm eating them. I know the texture. I know the quality, and I bite into these things, and it's terrible. Too sweet, too crunchy, just awful. So here's the problem. Now, and even if you look at the quality of these cookies, the way this cookie is, I don't know if it really translates on video, but just the quality, like just the way this cookie is stamped out in the cookie factory, it's obviously not made that well. This is a subpar cookie. So the question is, first of all, why can't they make Oreos the American way in Mexico? Why can't you take the American equipment and the American ingredients and just ship it to Mexico with the American recipe and come back? I mean, if you really have to send production to Mexico, why can't you at least produce the same product that you were producing? I mean, I had a car that was made in Mexico. That thing was all right. But these are just sad. And even the package, if you kind of like, I'm not a graphic design expert or anything, but if you look at this package, it's just a little bit cheesy. A lot of white space on the back. It's just... So, the question is, why on earth would you take an American institution, Nabisco, I think that stands for the National Biscuit Company, and the Oreo cookie, why would you ship it to Mexico in the first place? Why would you farm it out? Are you trying to tell me that there aren't thousands or millions of people in America who need jobs, who would love to have a job working at the Nabisco factory making these cookies? I wouldn't want to work there. I wouldn't want to work in a factory, but I'm sure there's a lot of people who would. Sounds like a good job. Going in the morning, and at the end of the day, you know that you have created fantastic Oreo double stuffed cookies, or Nutter Butters, or those Nabisco too. All kinds of great cookies. So why on earth would you close that factory down, close that company down, and ship it off to Mexico? Why, if you own Nabisco, why would you sell it to Mondelez? No offense to Mondelez. I'm sure they're fine people that own that place, but the problem is that there's too much of a... Well, look, we're all part of the same hypocrisy. First of all, let me place blame on the American consumer. I am just like any other American consumer in that I want everything and I want it for nothing. I probably wouldn't have paid $3 for these cookies. I wanted them on sale. I didn't want to pay $2.99 or $3.49 or $4.29. But when I saw that price point, $1.99 for a box of, this is a box, a package of double stuffed Oreos, I said, wow, I'm in. And it's that kind of petty price reduction where we're hungrier and hungrier for cheaper and cheaper prices, and we want everything available 24 hours a day, that forces these companies to figure out ways to cut corners. So that is how the American consumer is part of the problem. Where if everyone said, hey, you know what? We will buy these for full price. We don't have to get them on sale. We don't have to get a cheaper and cheaper price. We don't have to have you keep cutting corners and cutting corners on our favorite products. Then this probably wouldn't happen because we just wouldn't stand for it. You know, the American consumer would say, hey, these cookies are terrible. Now, it is subjective. Maybe there are people who bite into these cookies and say, wow, these are great. And most people are going to buy this bag of cookies and they're going to just give it to their kids. And what difference does it make to a kid? You know, most kids are so desperate to just get a cookie in the first place. And, Mommy, can I have a cookie? That they're not going to say, Mom, those cookies suck. Because then Mom will say, fine, have a carrot, you little idiot. So no kid's going to rock the boat by criticizing the Oreo. So chances are half the people, 3/4 of the people, maybe 99% of the people who are eating these never even notice a difference. And if they do notice, they don't care. They just suck it up. But I notice a difference. And I'm sure I can't be the only one. And it's not just Oreos. I had a Hostess apple pie the other night. Hostess apple pie. And it tastes, I swear to God, this thing tasted like an old lady's perfume drawer. Chamomile and lilac and Crabtree and Evelyn soap. It didn't even taste, it tasted just like nothing but chemicals. It didn't even taste like apples. So I noticed, but maybe a lot of other people don't notice. Maybe people are just, they buy the cookies at $1.99, they shove it in their mouth, they eat it, done. So in some ways, the American consumer, including me, is guilty as hell for making this happen, for forcing this to happen. In other ways, a lot of people are out of work. A lot of people are suffering from this economic downturn, so we need the cookies to be cheaper. You know, everyone wants a cookie, but who has $4.50, $5 to spend on some dumb cookies? Now, on the other side of the coin, we have to place a lot of culpability on the corporate structure that allows this to happen in the first place. Who is it at Nabisco who said, okay, we'll sell our company to Mondelez? Why? Why do you have to sell? First of all, why does Mondelez have to own every cookie company? Why do you have to be this gigantic company that owns everything? Who are the politicians who are making these laws where gigantic international companies can just buy each other out? Why do you have to, if you have a big company, and this isn't just Mondelez and Nabisco, this is just cookies, why do you have to buy every other company that does what you do? Radio stations, movie companies, car companies, why does every company have to buy every other company? Why can't you have Mondelez doing their thing, making their fine products wherever they're from, Mexico, I'm assuming, maybe Spain, and then Nabisco in America doing their thing? Why do they have to merge? Here's why. Money. Profit. Now, maybe nobody made anything on the deal between Nabisco and Mondelez. Maybe nobody made a dime. Maybe the board of directors of Nabisco lost money. But I doubt it. Normally when you have mergers like this, somebody makes a lot of money. A tiny handful of very wealthy, very powerful people makes a lot of money at the expense of people who work at Nabisco who lose their jobs in America, maybe people who work at Mondelez who now face more competition from people who are hungry for jobs, and the other person who suffers ultimately is the consumer. The consumer who is accustomed to having this delicious Oreo cookie and now opens a pack of these Oreo cookies and says, this is terrible. This tastes like chalk. This tastes like chemicals. This tastes like some kind of sugar substitute. Now, I don't even know what the ingredients are in here. Number one ingredient, sugar. Okay, so it's not chemical sugar. It's not, fake sugar. So why is it that Mexican sugar tastes so different than American sugar? Flour, riboflavin, palm oil, cocoa, high fructose corn syrup. They say that's bad for you. I don't know. Cornstarch, leavening ingredients, salt, soy. There's nothing in here to me that seems really egregious unless you're on the high fructose corn syrup bandwagon, which, they're probably right about that. But to me, it looks like a list of reasonably banal ingredients, and I'm going to guess the list of ingredients is exactly the same as it was before they moved production to Mexico. But why is it then that these cookies taste terrible and the texture is terrible? So here's my big problem with this. And this is a problem that happens when it comes to just about every product that has been moved from American production to foreign production, like the Dixon Ticonderoga pencil, remember that? Or Craftsman tools, all kinds of different things, where it used to be that you could buy a cheap imported product that was inexpensive and it wasn't good and it wasn't going to last. But if you only had a couple of bucks and you wanted to buy something cheap because you really didn't care about the difference, you need to buy a wrench that you're going to use twice to assemble IKEA furniture or something, you don't need to go to the Snap-on truck and buy a great tool. If you just want some cookies, as a snack and you only have $1 in your pocket, go ahead and buy the cheap store brand duplex creams. But there was always the good option available. If you want to spend some extra money, you can get the high quality Nabisco original double stuff Oreo that is going to be good. It's going to be a high quality product. It's going to taste delicious. You're going to enjoy it. Or you can go and you can buy the more expensive wrench. You can buy the more expensive pen or pencil. But now, there are a lot of categories of things where those options just aren't even available. I can't go to Acme and say, okay, I don't want the Mexican Oreos because they don't taste good. I want the American Oreos. Mexican Oreos, $1.99. I don't like those. So I'll pay you $3.50 for a pack of American Oreos so I can enjoy those. You can't do it. It doesn't exist anymore. They don't exist. Will they ever come back? Will the Hostess fruit pie ever taste like apples again? Will Oreo double stuffed cookies ever come back to America, back to the original factories, the original recipes, where I could sit down and say, these are delicious Oreos? Now, of course, nobody in their right mind should really be eating cookies at all. This stuff, it's not good for you. It's supposed to be a treat. And the fact that I bought this package of cookies and I immediately ate the entire center, even though they're not even that good, that indicates some kind of sugar addiction, probably. I probably shouldn't be eating this stuff. You go in Acme, and there's an entire produce section filled with fruits, vegetables. I should have got some of that instead. So I think that's part of the problem. We shouldn't really be eating so much junk food, so much sugar, so many snacks and cookies and candy. But so, maybe it's a good idea to move towards eating better food. But what happens when the better food takes the same route that these cookies took? Where you used to be able to get a high quality, nice, delicious cucumber, and now, the cucumbers are gross. I don't know if that's happened. It's been a while since I ate a cucumber. In fact, I might go to the supermarket and get a cucumber right after I finish making this video. But that, to me, is the tragedy here. Not the fact that people in Mexico are, able to have jobs making fine cookies or Subpar cookies. Everyone needs a job. Not the fact that we're cooperating with our neighbors to the south, but just the fact that the legendary American icon Nabisco Oreo cookie has been rendered substandard so that somebody somewhere can make a lot more money than they used to make. And we're not talking about going from zero. If you told me, hey, you're dead broke, you have $0, but you push this deal through, we'll give you $10 million. Well, that's tempting. But if you're already making $20 million a year and they say, well, you push this deal through, next year you make $25 million. Really? You're already rich. Do you really need to ruin everything in America? It's not about Mexicans. It's not about what country it comes from, China, Japan, France, Austria. It's not about that. It's just about taking wonderful products, high quality products, and turning them into something that's just going to get worse and worse and worse, all for the sake of making a little bit more money or a lot more money. So hopefully at some point, people will stop buying this crap and will stand up for the quality that we used to have. People will say, you know what, enough is enough. And I'm not talking about going after Mexicans like, oh, well, if you build a wall, then blah, blah. Fuck that. I'm not talking about bickering amongst those of us who occupy the lowest rung of the ladder of society. I'm talking about going after the people who are making, these tiny group of very wealthy, very powerful people who are making these decisions. The people at Nabisco who said, hey, let's close up shop in America and move production to Mexico. Let's figure out who those people are and ask them, please, could you give up a little bit of your profit? Could you give up a little bit of your money so that we could have our Oreos back?